She was born in France, raised in Tunisia, and destined for the spotlight.
From a model competition to international covers, her presence always turned heads, but it was her voice that left a mark.
In 2011, she made history, becoming the first Arab Muslim woman featured in Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue.
And since then, she's redefined what it means to be a model, not just wearing the clothes, but changing how the story is told.
From glossy covers to ethical craft, she's always chosen purpose over perfection.
Model, activist, entrepreneur.
This is Kenza Fourati, and this is her story.
And I think it's the same for you guys. I come from a place where I don't have that luxury to say, I don't talk about politics. It's not, politics impact you directly in your not even politics, but like injustice or situation impact directly your life in a very significant way, or the life around you. So yeah, I don't have that luxury. Lucky you. It's not my position.
Yeah, because it's too smart for a model to do.
Yeah.
I still experience that. Wait a second, you think you're doing a serious job and you were a model before?
I'm not trying to be controversial, but I do believe it's my duty to stand for what I think is right. Yeah. And yeah, it's never very comfortable, but it is what it is.
Social media gave us opportunity to talk, and a lot of girls kind of accepted it. I'm talking about models, girls, but a lot of girls chose to still be silent. It's choice now. Back then, we were all silent. It was kind of rule.
Yeah.
Now it's a choice. This is why we kind of started podcast to talk to invisible people, not just models and visible.
Fashion Host Podcast.
I met Kenza in Paris forever ago, but we really connected in New York when we were at the same agency.
Yeah, you always lit up when you talk about her. It's amazing.
Because she's special. She is electric. She's fierce. She is beautiful. She's from Tunisia, and I was intrigued instantly because I never met anyone from Tunisia before her, and then she made a history. She booked something very, very special. Sports Illustrated as the first Arab woman.
Yeah, it's major.
Yes, history made.
Definitely.
And I will never forget her saying, I grew up in a Muslim culture, but I can model swimsuits, but no one hears me. That moment is kind of memorable for me because until then I didn't know it was such a big deal in 21st century.
Yeah, and she's been challenging the status quo ever since, on the runway, in activism, and now with her own fashion platform.
She's bold, she's brilliant, and she has stories for days. So let's get into it. How does it sound?
I love you guys. What an intro.
But it's all
beautiful. I mean, told like that, it's romance. It's beautiful.
You don't feel it like it is? Living it, you don't feel like it is a romance? It was more fight?
Who feels romance when it's living it, right? It's no, but it's beautifully said. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for coming, finding time to share your story with us.
And let's dive right into it. And I would like to ask you, that's what we usually ask now. How would you explain what you're doing for a living to a 5-year-old?
I love that question because my son just turned 6. And whenever people ask him, my dad studies the news. It's very basic, My mom, she takes pictures and then she sells babouche, which is our type of shoes.
Yeah.
So great.
I guess in my son's that's very simplified, but yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome.
Yeah, taking photos and selling babouche. I think it's good, right?
Yeah. And it's like, what is babouche? Like, yeah, it's shoes. It's shoes. Yeah. So I sell shoes according to my son.
Awesome. And
go.
So let's wind back to where you were born, since you remember yourself, how you were growing up. I think we want to learn start from there and learn that part of your history to get to know you more and introduce you to people who probably didn't meet you yet.
And it's probably, for sure, it's special with your background. I know a little bit about it, but I would like to point out that it's unique, and especially at that time.
And so people who knows you also want to know that probably.
I mean, it's funny because we come from a time where social media wasn't that prominent, and I guess the way we celebrate diversity and people from all over the world today is beautiful, but it was very different, you know, back when we started. So always you had the idea to blend in and try to not kind of, you know, like people would be like, where are you from? So I am from Tunisia. I was actually born in France, but raised in Tunisia. And what can I tell you? So what you normalize as a child, then you go outside in the world and like, okay, maybe it wasn't completely normal. But yeah, I mean, I had a very kind of, what I thought was very normal childhood. I grew up in a very Mediterranean type of culture, so it was very much family oriented, very sheltered from the world. Of course, you know, like Tunisia was moderately a conservative country where it was very homogeneous, and you know, most people, you know, growing up, I mean, still are, you know, Muslim, and you know, but practicing their faith in a very, you know, moderate way. But when I started modeling, I remember one of the first, and I'm sure a lot of people who don't necessarily are Muslim have had this experience, but you know, I shot the cover back then, but it was the cover in lingerie for it's called Madame Figaro. Oh my God.
So how was it first within the family and then later within community?
So because my parents are very kind of, you know, my mom is in film, you know, my father is a doctor. We didn't have this kind of thing where, you know, like you sexualize your body very young. So I didn't even think of it, right? It was normal. We you know, I live at the beach, we're in swimsuit. It was a normal extension. But then, you know, like I have a younger sister, and she came back one day and she was like, everyone is talking about you, everyone is criticizing you, it's terrible, I don't want to ever go back to school, everything. And so you had to deal with how to explain to her when you are already grasping, you know, how to deal with it yourself.
How old was she? You were 15, right?
Yeah, I was 16 when this came out, and I guess I eventually was 13.
And was it your first modeling job?
No, it wasn't my first at all, but it was the one where I was literally in injury, you know?
Yeah.
So I think people start kind of like talking about it, and I was always trying to hide thing, but when it's in French magazine, it's kind of more accessible in that part of the world. So a lot of people saw it back then, and you know, like it was hard, and then you know, it was hard for my family, it was hard for my parents, but that was nothing compared to what happened with Sports Illustrated. You know, where...
Why you think is that? Because it was worldwide impacted, like more...
No, because I think was also, so at that time, it was right after the revolution.
The time-wise.
The time-wise. The time-wise, and then also the thing is, when you, and we all know it, when you shoot a magazine, no one knows your name, no one knows this thing, they think. OSAY was different. OSAY was really, even back then, celebrating people, you know, and I choose, you know, so they actually take a quote from you, or they kind of interview you, and I choose to speak about the country, and I spoke about the evolution. So it even kind of, you know, build it up, you know. Yeah. The platform was bigger. You talk about as Kenza, whoever, whatever it is, and on top of that, it was just of the revolution. And so back then,
and we already had social media at the beginning, right?
It was still Facebook only, but then Facebook, everyone was just like, you know, the word literally was just free. So people were like allowed to say whatever they wanted. You weren't allowed to say anything you wanted up until 2011. You know, so when you kind of free the word, which was amazing in so many ways, it allows also a lot of hatred. I mean, you know, like there was like, I remember there's Facebook groups calling for my death. Like,
oh my God, were you scared?
With thousands of people.
Were you scared? Did you regret it at that moment that you did it?
No, I did not regret it. And I was very clear. I was like, I'm not the flag or the think of anyone and anything. Those are my personal choices, and I'm not a community, spokesperson for anyone and anything. So if you don't like it, turn your face. I have, I'm not,
That's my philosophy as well. But were they so aggressive towards you because you were part of revolution in some way, or just because you were a girl talking about that subject?
I don't think it was because I was talking, it was because I was showing.
But you were talking about that
I was,
loudly also.
yeah.
And for a woman to talk about politics and stuff like that in many parts of the world are not really
So I
welcome.
don't think being a woman there was the issue. I really think is, yes, first of all, I was talking blah blah. Also, it was kind of the big rise of back then, Islamists and the Islamic woman, extremely conservative woman. Also, I was definitely standing against this just by my very simple existence, right? So I think it was more what I represented more than me being a woman. I think. I don't know.
But let's wind back a little bit. So you were discovered as a model, right? And
Yeah.
How did that start?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we jumped.
Because I think people let's
Let's get a little bit
Yeah.
back.
So okay, let's go back. So my mom works in films and cinema, and back then she was doing a lot of commercials. So she was in that kind of world, and one day she heard, a friend of hers was like, oh, I remember your daughter is fairly tall and whatever. Would she be interested in doing the elite model look? And I was like, what? It's a free week at the beach hotel. I was like, oh, sign me up.
sold.
I'm sold. I don't know. I was like, yeah, I want to have a week. And then also, I remember very well, it was the first week of school, and I was like, yes, I get a week off school. I don't know
What will we do not to go to school at some point in our life?
I was like, sign me up, and my mom was like, whatever, if you want. Okay, she didn't even think because she was trusting the people. She knew them. They knew. She also, I don't think we kind of projected what would that mean, right? So this happened, and then it was elite model look, and then I won the national. And when I won the national, I was like, oh, that's getting a little bit more serious. Like, there are people from all over the world flying in. It's a contract with what back then sounded like a big number. And you're like, really? But it sounded like a bigger thing than it was. It was sounding more serious. And then at that moment, my father was away, flew back, and he was like, what the heck is this? No way, go back to school. And then he got talked to by the agency. So I do the elite model look worldwide, and then finish, I think, third. I think the first one was Serbian, Anna.
Yes, Anna Mihailovic.
Anna Mihailovic. Exactly.
Yes,
So
that was the year.
That was our year.
And I was following, and because Anna was there, Anna was representing Serbia. After some time, there were no Serbian girls at all, and I followed that competition. I was already traveling. I think I was in Tokyo at that time. And I remember hearing girl from Tunisia, and I was like, really? So
And then you met that girl.
Yeah, and then I met her. Yeah.
Did you recognize her when you met?
Someone told me.
Someone told.
Yeah, I did not recognize her, but someone told me, that she's the one. Because back then, girls from a competition at the elite model look, right, were like really establishing themselves within the high fashion modeling very easily and very fast. So there was I think so. I think a lot of girls who started with elite had like a really good, come on, professionals are choosing you guys, so they already knew that kind of look is needed. So you kind of had a very nice entrance.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that, but I guess yeah. So that's how it started. And then I remember back at that moment. So I win, blah, blah. My father was like, okay, great, but you still have to finish school, so there was no way out. And then I remember it was right after Elite had all of the scandals. Remember the scandals, and everyone was trying to send this to my family, and like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving your daughter to be with this type of people and everything? But they were like, I remember they were like, we raised you to be smart. It's on you now. And it's funny because then when I start traveling, and I'm sure you guys will relate to this, it's like, it's true that you meet very mature girls, and
Yes.
rightfully so. Some girls are very young, and we are all very young. Some girls should be very mature, but some girls were very like, you could see like, you know, they had good values and
That's true.
good intelligence, like good street smart.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
it's very interesting to see.
I'm not 100% sure how prepared we are coming into that world, but really fast, many girls pick it up.
Oh yeah, because
You know,
otherwise you wouldn't
yes.
survive there.
Exactly. And I think you see it very quickly. I mean, and I'm sure, like, I remember I had this friend of mine, she was French. You know, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life up until now. She couldn't handle it. And you could clearly see, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
the system clears you out if mentally you're not ready.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I've met a lot of girls with that same problem. But that's why people are pointing out, yes, there is a beauty factor, but personality is a much more that can lead you
because
to success.
there are a lot of
it is.
beautiful
Exactly.
women.
Strength, resilience, you know.
Yeah, and that's very often coming from your background, because a lot of girls who are successful are coming from really unusual, mostly some hardship growing up in some way. So probably that's give us an extra resilience.
Resilience.
And then, Kenza, what after you won that contest? Do you remember your first fashion job? What was that? The real one.
Was it already in Paris?
I mean, if I had to remember exactly the first one, I remember it was actually a footwear campaign right after the Elite Model look.
So you were signed already with Elite?
I was signed, yeah. And it was very sexy. And I was not prepared mentally. Like, I remember I had like these crazy high heels, and I was like wearing underwear, and my Arab dad came with me on the job, and I was like, oh my god, I'm dying.
Oh.
And then I remember even worse, people were like, is that your boyfriend? I was like, what?
What?
Oh.
Well, that's my father. And
At
so
the shoot, people at the shoot?
at the shoot, I was like, oh, is that your boyfriend? I was like,
Weren't
what?
they aware? How old were you?
They don't care.
I think, and this is why I think I go back to the idea what we were talking about earlier, where we normalize so many things. You know, like, it was just normal.
It was
just
normal,
to
yeah.
see a teenage girl with a much older guy
And ask her to be sexy.
and ask
Like,
her to be sexy.
yeah.
And I mean, I can go into even more kind of things.
Do
but
you know how to be sexy at 15?
I
didn't know.
I didn't know.
I
I didn't know it at 17 and 18. I didn't know when the photographers were like, oh, she's sexy. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Like, what do I do?
And I'm very, you know, because I think I'm much more comfortable now at this stage.
Yes,
right?
yes,
I
of
think
course.
I barely had my period. I was not really a woman at all.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I'm just like, oh, what are you talking sexy, you know?
Yeah.
What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? So that's a job I remember that, well, like, I was like, stuck me, and I took a break after.
Oh.
Yeah, I was
Because of the experience or
Because of the
because of
experience.
circumstances?
because I think it was important for my parents that I finished high school. It was kind of deal, and then because I think that kind of that was I had fun, and people were nice, and I could understand the thing, but I was like, I don't know, like, I needed to step away, so I didn't go back for months. And then one day I flew to Paris, and I pushed the door, and I was like, hey, you guys remember me? Like, who are you?
What made you decide to go back?
I think because I finished high school and I wanted to live in Paris. I wanted the opportunity to get, you know, I wanted the opportunity to live something different, to make money, to be independent, to travel the world. I didn't know I don't know if that would be it, but I knew, like, I was in Paris, I had to
Try.
I had to try it.
And how then, at what point, do you remember the moment when you realized, okay, now this is not only like or interesting opportunity to travel the world, to try something, but when you realized, okay, this is my career now?
That I would be very curious to see what you guys would think of it. But honestly, and I think this is one of also the issue we have with the industry, is it took me a very long time. And that's wrong of me, because I don't think the industry prepare very young people like we were to that. So for the longest time, I'm like, oh, I'm taking a year gap. And like, it's your 5th year, like, you're not, it's not a year gap, you know, like, you're clearly not going back to university the way you think you will. So for the longest time, I was even when, you know, I read your book. I was like, you asked for money in a way that very assertive. I'm like, I wasn't like that. I was very shy.
It's the same. I don't know where this one comes from.
Yeah, I was like, I was so shy. I was like, excuse me, can I have my statement?
Yeah.
And because I didn't, the system makes you feel like you're not taken seriously.
Yeah.
So I wasn't taking myself seriously for the longest time, and I regret that very much. And this is what I always say when I mentor young people. When I say that, I was like, now it's different because
they all know a lot of
assertive. But like, you should, you should take this seriously because it is serious.
Yeah.
It's your job. It's what you do. It's your skill set.
That's why I was always like, what do you mean you're shy to ask for your money? You worked for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not comfortable asking, but I realized if I don't, no one will call me, hey, here's your money. That never happens.
But you know what happened to me after I did my first fashion week in Paris? I knew that I'm working like every day, and I knew that something is happening nice for me. And also in my mind, before I was in Tokyo, and girls who were already in Paris, they told me, oh, you go to Paris only to get beautiful pictures and, like for an image, but you don't make money there. You are in debt there. I'm like, okay, so that wasn't my mind. You don't make, like, you work, but you don't make money. And so I did all these shows. I'm like, okay, now people are going to see me, and then that is it. That's my payment. And I walked into the agency after Fashion Week was done, and Sylvestre, she grabbed me by my hand and she's like, Vlada, how much money do you want? I was like, oh no, I came for the pocket money, for the weekly payment. What was it, like 80 euros?
Yeah,
Something like that, right?
And like, can I have my pocket money? And she's like, how much do you want? I'm like, what do you mean, 80 euros? And she's like, no, like you can take more. We can give you more. I'm like, but how much more? And she's like, darling, do you understand? You're like top model now. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, Natasha Poli, you. I'm like, but I knew who Natasha Poli is already. So so she was really good with that. Like yes.
At Sylvestre, I never had an issue, but I was there for a short period of time. For me, the mind-changing moment was going to Tokyo. I got signed for a very good contract. I start feeling money, and I start feeling like I work hard, I get paid. So when I went back to Paris, back to Europe, that was my logic. I work hard and I get paid. And if I don't get paid, I get mad. So,
you teach that.
It was just as very simple as that, because it was so hard to live with 80 euros.
It was so hard.
Yeah.
You pay 27. I remember
it was
27 euros to pay for a weekly ticket. It was like someone is taking my heart out.
And then you lose that ticket.
And then when we eat, I remember her.
You have to pay 15 euros for the credit for the phone. And if you have to call international, good luck to you. I made a deal with the agency right away. I call home from the agency, so I don't pay for it, right? Because I couldn't.
Genius.
My mathematics didn't work. I go home and I'm like, 80 euros. How do you split per 7 days? But you have to pay this. You have to pay this. And for Serbia, it was just so expensive. 20 euros phone card for the phone booth. It's like 11 minutes. That was it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, 11 minutes, 7 days. So I came up with the idea to go to the agency, but
they agreed.
I did that.
They agree. Yeah. In Paris, I never had an issue with the agency.
They even encouraged me. They're like, do you want to call your parents? Do you want to call your family? I'm like, yeah, sure.
And later on, I switched to Natalie, and I was really, really treated well there. My issue was Italy. Italian mentality and my mentality with the agency didn't get along.
Yeah, I agree. I think I also
Italy was really hard to squeeze your money out of them.
But even London, I don't know, but I remember my agency was like, you can only email us to ask about your statement on Wednesday. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I need to be paid. What do you mean? I have to wait until Wednesday for you to send me I could only email them on Wednesday, otherwise you get mad. That's
And when do you get the money? Why do you...
No, that's even a different conversation. But email me only on Wednesday. It's like, what is this? I remember also one of the first things. And it's kind of funny because I actually become close with this accountant, and she was a very cool woman in Paris. I arrived, so I was a minor with my dad. Again, And the lady was like, so again, my dad, an Arab man, she told him there's 2 jobs where women makes more than men. Modeling and prostitution. Mother was like, okay, I'm out of here, get out. Literally, like, and I remember I was like, oh my God, this is
Why did
great.
she say that?
I don't know. I actually should ask her because it's funny, that stayed with her. I was like, oh God, and you know.
Even if you think that,
Like,
Yeah,
why?
yeah, you
why?
don't
saying
need to-
loud, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Or maybe she was proud that you were making money and you're making more than a man.
It did not land like that.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out now to find the logic.
Devil's advocate.
Right? But when you got your first check, were you aware that your career is going towards like success, or were you thinking just, oh, I'm making some money and that's it? Because a lot of girls that we spoke to, they never had that feeling, oh, I'm successful. Did you ever had that feeling after some job or
When you realized that.
when you realized that you were successful?
I realized I started making money fairly early. Although like I had the same thing, like, oh, Paris, you never make money, and then on top of that you consider European. I'm like, I'm not European, but you consider European, and you know, like it's not great for you, blah blah blah. You should, you know, like French girls don't work. I'm like, first of all, I'm not French, but you know, but I actually did.
Can you tell us more about that? What does
I
it-
remember when I first arrived in Paris, so 2 things happened. They say, oh, your French is really good. Why don't you say you're from here? And then they try to change my name. So they say, oh,
To what? Like
Maya.
anything? Maya.
Maya.
Yeah.
Why Maya?
because it sounded more,
French.
yeah, like not French, but more international. Like you could be from any place. But I think when in the French mentality, when you hear Kenza, you know you're most likely from North Africa,
And that was a problem for them.
and that was a problem.
For the agency.
I mean, for
Yeah, I
Fashion,
mean,
like-
I'm not gonna throw the agency under the bus, but yeah, they suggested that, right?
Mhm.
So I remember I went to the shows. I was like, they were like, Maya. Oh shit, that's me.
I had the same because we did change my name, and this like I would come to casting and they're like, so what's your name? And I'd be like, Vlada, and
Yeah, so me, I was like, I can't. So I switched back because I was like, this doesn't work. But then they like, or I don't know if the agency or the girls among us just like, you should go to different market, because usually when you consider French, you don't really work in France. That wasn't happen to be true because I worked fairly well. Like I had kind of, I don't know why, but I had like a lot of kind of French, you know, French money clients. So I did work and make a little bit of money. And I remember when I started kind of like, you know, when I started kind of be able to kind of afford things and gift stuff for my parents, I was like, okay, that's kind of.
do you remember what was the
That's-
first thing you bought for yourself or your parents?
Yes, I remember it was a Stella McCartney jacket for my mom. And I was like, I had no idea how, because I didn't know who, and I don't know why it stayed with me, but yeah, I remember I bought her jacket. No, the first thing was a computer for myself, and then there's a nice jacket for my mom.
That's so sweet.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, she still has it.
Yeah, she had, of course.
Of course. Should
Forever,
be framed.
Yeah, it should be framed. Yes. After Paris, where you just said you worked very well, how did you decide and what happened to move from? Because for girls, sometimes it's really hard once you start making money. At least it was for me. At some dot, you don't want to leave, and the agency is kind of pushing you to go to different markets. Did you have that experience?
I mean, I never did the apartment agency in Paris. So in Paris, I always like took my own place because the initial idea was I would just try a little bit modeling, but I would go back to school. So I always had kind of an anchor in Paris, so I didn't have any problem going and try different markets and coming back. And especially around
So it
Europe
was your
was
base.
exactly. Even I would kind of come here in the US and work fairly well. You know, again, that was kind of commercial here for me, and then go back. And that was, you know, so I was very kind of based here, but work picked up in a good way here. So, you know, you start having the idea, I'm getting too comfortable in that market. And my dream was always to be here in the US. But it took me a while, you know.
How long?
I moved here in 2000, like full on 2010.
Oh.
And the thing is, one of the things that was holding me back is I was affiliated to the university in Paris and in London. So I had to keep sort of anchoring there for that. After breakup and school finished, I was like, I'm out.
New York, here I am.
New York, here I am.
You started working really young, right?
Yeah.
And how do you think it shaped you being a teenager in an adult world? How did you go through it? And now looking at, I'm sure it did shape you as a person.
Yeah, because I think our coming of age in a way is thrown in a very different way than most people. You are surrounded by people who, you know, are doing a business and you don't really see it like that. Except Ines, I don't know, she was genius back then. I wasn't, definitely not.
Right.
So I think, you know, I was very lucky because I think I felt also very connected and protected with some of the grown-up around me. I made very good friendship, but I do feel like, looking back, I wish I was more prepared, you know?
In which way?
I think assertiveness, business way, and then, you know, also like how to handle, you know, people, you know, and expectation.
How do you think, if we would go back because I feel exactly the same, what do you think would be the best way to prepare young girls?
Should we do online course for that?
Like, should it be like, where should it come from? From the agency or from someone you're looking up to? But again, like, I never dreamed to be a model, so I didn't even have that figure to look up to. So I didn't know. So I probably, for me personally, probably the best case would be an agent who works in the agency, like take me by my hand and say, hey, let's sit down, let's talk about it.
But the problem is, I was thinking that way, but then at some point I sit in that chair being an agent in America. They don't know that for us some things are weird here. Like, I remember the moment I saw machine to buy a ticket first time in my life for metro, for subway in Paris. Like, for everyone around me, that machine was normal thing. To me, that was the scariest monster I ever seen in my life. So they cannot even guess what kind of issues and fears we are going through.
A map that they gave me, just go to casting.
Here's the map.
And go by, it's true.
So,
but that should, but I'm sorry, they should have a training for sensibilities. We you know, like this is why we build resilience, right? Because you are thrown in situation, and I think you should be trained to kind of have a basic
exactly. But I think,
survival kit.
Yeah, but I think mother agent can help in that way.
But again, like my mother agent, they were, I was lucky. One part of my mother agency, she was in Paris actually. So I was even living with her in her apartment. So it was great. She was helping me somehow. But that was a little later.
But if we have to assign this job to someone, I think it fits more a mother agent, because mother agent was in your country and is somehow familiar with the circumstances you're coming from.
I didn't have a mother agent personally. You know, it was Elite Paris, right?
Yes. So you jumped into this corporate right away, which is even harder.
Yeah. So I do think, you know, like, also I think it's very hard because they see you as a business and numbers, and rightfully so, your product, right, or your brand, whatever it is, the way they see you, and you know there is so many of us, right? So they cannot humanize every interaction they have, and this is where I think, you know, like, it's very hard because it's a business based on human interaction, and of course, KPI numbers are important, and I think as of us, as our homework, or like a young person coming into this business, they have to understand that part. It's a business, it's interaction, and, you know, like, don't take it that personally, learn the right way.
That's probably what agencies should project to young girls, that it is a business, because as we were treated, we're family. Like, we're family, we're friends, you know how...
But your number goes down, you're out.
And you're not family
anymore. Commodity that is not... And I think this is kind of, I think, where there is a disconnection. Of course, a young girl who arrived here and she's like, you know, very young, like 13, 14, 15. of course, for her, it's not a business. It's kind of her anchor, her lighthouses.
Yeah.
And so there is such a discrepancy between the grown-up and the child in this relationship. I mean, it's kind of interesting because I think now our experiences shape us in the way we are. And, with all the good and the bad, it's hard. But I think the new generation are very different.
Very. Yeah.
They have way more access to things.
Yeah.
They
know what they want.
They know what they want. And also they're not as young.
Yeah, but they don't get a map that you have to figure out. They have a Google map that tells them, counts the steps for them. So it's much easier in that way.
Yeah, for sure.
To go around. But I think also the fact that she went to such a big agency. Elite was huge back then. We were in boutique agency, Sylvester, so we were a little bit more cuddle at the beginning.
That's true.
At least in Paris. And so when I felt that warmer atmosphere there, I refused every single big agency that offered me to switch. And I was never part of any agency that is huge. And because of that, because I've seen girls crying, I called my agency and they treated me very badly. And I was like,
what do you mean?
What do you mean? When I call my agency, they're like,
it did feel like family.
Yes, it did feel like family. So I realized I don't want to be part of the agency. And I did say no to big agencies because of that. I don't want to be number. I don't want to call the agency and say, hi, this is Ines. And they're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Who do we want to talk to?
Yeah.
Instead of, he's there. Like he's your agent.
So all my agencies were boutique because of that. And I chose the agency not because of the name, but because it would be fun to have one of my agents from London telling this story. I would sit in the corner and watch the bookers at the table, and whoever projected the sweet energy around, I would choose that person to be my booker.
You should give a course of human, this is why also I say a lot to younger people when I talk to them, I think our, one of the skill sets that you definitely build and you don't even think about it, it's really human reading.
Yes.
That even if you're on a shoot, you know exactly, you have to understand exactly what the photographer wants, what the client wants, what the art director wants, what whoever has to get this, and you have to crisscross for everyone to get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
So you have to project this. And I think this is the same with the agencies. Like you have to be able to kind of
they're a client.
Read
on your side, but they're a client.
But go explain this to a very young person. It's very hard.
It's the same when you go to the casting. I knew almost every single casting that I walked in, if I'm going to get it or not. I think I was wrong and surprised that I was booked only a few times. I would think, they did not like me. That's okay, and I forget about it. And then when I see it's booked, I would be surprised. That was very rare. Because when you walk into the casting, you feel it, right?
Yeah.
You don't know how, you cannot explain, but you do feel how they are looking at you as someone potential or not at all. How did you deal with rejections?
So I think like all of us, if we're still standing here somehow, somewhere, it's like we kind of developed a thick skin and kind of took distance. Now, I think it was very hard, but it was never like I always had a very strong sense that I was very solid on my feet, and that I've always knew that, and I guess this is probably one of, I would say, a good asset I have. But also because I did feel like I had other options if things didn't work out.
So you were not desperate.
That's good.
I wasn't as because I love human connection, obviously. So I would live with girls and I could hear some different very story. Some had a child that she had to support. Some had I didn't have any of those
hard stories behind
hardship or heavy things that you say, this is kind of like, I have to put food on everyone else's table, so I was okay with that part. And I think this is what kind of shielded me with rejection. Of course, I would take it very personally and I would be like, whatever. But, I was like, at the end of the day, whatever. And I think also one of the things that I think I regret also in a way where I think it goes back to what you were saying is, because I didn't take it, not I didn't take it too seriously, but I think because I was like, oh, it's a gap here, it's a gap thing. I was like, if it's, oh wow, I'm surprised. I booked this, and that was an amazing surprise to hold on. But it wasn't like, oh, this is a trajectory of like, those are all like the pinpoint I want to hit, and this is like a career trajectory I'm working towards. I wish I had that more, and then dealt with rejection differently. Then it's like, oh, amazing, I shot this. Oh, amazing, I didn't get this.
I had the same. Because I was told that modeling career very like 5 years max. I'm like, okay, and every job was like, oh, great, another one, and here I am 20 years, like still doing something.
Yes,
okay,
it's so true.
Yeah, it is. That phrase, the career is so short, worked so well for many girls. They were thankful to be there another day and another job.
Exactly.
For other girls who were like flying high too fast and too high, the end was so painful because they thought higher I am, the longer will it be, which is not
true.
Okay, very rarely, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a saying, oh, she got a sickness of the star, so she flies up to the stars, and then when she drops, it's like really painful.
She hit it hard,
right? It's much painful than if we are aware it will happen at some point.
Yeah.
So when it happens, you are okay with it.
Yeah.
But moving to New York, was it a big cultural difference for you?
I think huge. I mean, I think also I think again to go back to the same subject, but work-wise, like the way you were saying in Italy, like you book a job, it's amazing. People take 3 hours, they have wine at lunch and everything, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I do have a flight back at 7 p.m. And they were like, no, we'll cancel and you leave tomorrow. No, what? Canceling. It happened so many times back then. They were like, we'll cancel. And so you had this kind of thing where work was not taken seriously in so many more. Here it's just like over time. Maybe it was like 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 15 minutes more. And you're like, oh, we're open. And I was like, I love this. Man, I love this.
Same as
Yeah, I remember.
I'm gonna get this very used to this. I really love this kind of, okay, they value my time and my thing. So yeah.
Yeah, when the agency was telling me, let us know what time you finished, I'm like, because they will pay overtime. All right.
And then you would feel shy. And I'm like, why am I feeling shy? No, I'm gonna write it down. So there is a lot of things that I learned from the American Dragon that I really appreciate, and then I was like, it's first of all, and I'm sure you probably have the same experience coming from where you're coming from. No one knew where I was coming from. So it was like, I got all of the kind of random, very interesting comments, like, like, where are you from, in Tunisia? Oh. I was like, no, I'm from Tunisia. Where is that? North Africa. Oh, I have a cousin in Johannesburg. I'm like, I probably don't know him. It's on the other side of the continent, but it was so interesting to see, like, to feel that insignificant, I guess.
Yes.
But
Serbia, Siberia.
Serbia was
Yeah,
Siberia
Siberia,
many times. Too many times that I gave up at some point.
Yes,
It's okay, whatever. Let's just keep going.
Whatever. And then you have so many kind of, because you live, and I'm sure you live with, so I didn't have the month's experience the way I lived it here, where I live for end of month in the model's apartment. So, for example, I remember the first time I arrived in New York, it's freezing cold, -12 or something. And then I ended up living with this girl in the bunk bed. She's from Florida. So the heat is blasting.
Of course.
But then she put AC. What is going on? And she was like, but you don't send AC clear the air. I'm like, no, it doesn't. You're just burning energy. And it was just kind of interesting to see, like,
A different way of thinking.
Different way of living, thinking. So, but this being said, I think what I loved here is, this kind of,
You blend in easily. They accept you here easily,
exactly.
Right? Not
I think
Europe.
it was very, like you come, when you say who you are, where you come from, in Europe, it comes, because they probably know, I don't know, but it comes with a little bit of, at least how I felt, snobism.
same thing.
We're here like whatever.
Yeah, but here also, like, I felt at some point when they asked me where are you from, and I'm like, I'm from Serbia, and they're like, Siberia, and I'm like, no, Serbia, that's in Europe, ex-Yugoslavia. They get intrigued and they want to hear more.
Yeah,
And
in
they're
a very
excited.
genuine way.
Yes, and they're excited. Oh, how exotic that is, right? They're proud and happy to meet someone from that part.
Yeah.
Versus in
So
Europe,
true.
where you're from, I'm from Serbia. Oh, Eastern European bloc. This is your box. Yeah, that's how I
Absolutely.
felt.
Exactly.
Everywhere in Europe.
And I think it translates very much into how, you know, and obviously it's bad and wrong everywhere, but how integration happens
Exactly.
in this country where we live, everyone is from somewhere, everyone has, you know, a different personal story, and it's just an interesting mixture.
And another thing, sorry, I lived in London, and I was thinking I'm gonna stay in London forever. But then I came here and they're like, oh, how long have you been in New York? And I'm like, 7 years. And they're like, you're a New Yorker already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, if you're in New York for 7 years, we see you as a New Yorker. You would never, ever, ever hear that in London.
Or
Ever.
Paris.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's no big
Ever.
difference. There's no big difference, London,
Yeah,
Paris in that way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm a New Yorker. And I remember thinking, like, they accepted me
Mhm.
just based on the
Yeah.
fact that I'm here for 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
But-
amazing that
But that is only in New York. Go a little bit upstate.
Maybe.
Forget it.
Maybe. But I
They hear
felt
the
very
accent.
well.
They're like, "Oh, where are you from?" I'm like, "I live in
Yeah.
New York," and they're like, "But where from?" So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just New York.
But I think in Europe, at least I don't know about London, but in Paris, they expect you to blend in
Mm.
the culture, and you know, so kind of erase a little bit who you are to kind of more blend in more within the culture, the kind of common culture around the world, around Paris. Where here is just like celebrate, keep who you are, but you also New Yorker.
Yes.
And also, I think it's very important to say New York, not, you know, we didn't
Well,
end
we are
up
talking,
living, we didn't end up living in Missouri, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's-
Yeah, we are talking about New York because we lived experience in New York. The rest of America could be different. But was that acceptance of New Yorkers in New York helping making decision to stay here permanently?
I mean, I'm gonna be very honest. I felt very much home here,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, you know, like it's kind of interesting because it has nothing to do with who I am, where I come from, and everything. But I arrive here and I still have that feeling. I was like, feels home, feels good, you know. Like I'm part of this, and I think when you come from so many different, or you have different life experience that shape you who you are, and you feel very kind of unrooted or ungrounded anywhere you go. Grounding yourself in New York for whatever reason it is, it's very incredible, you know?
I agree. So you're still modeling
A little bit.
a little bit as a hobby now, not a full time.
No, it's not a hobby.
It's not a hobby.
It is not a hobby. It's not like, ooh, it's great. But it's interesting because I started the brand, so I have the different perspective of being a client. So I think my sense of empathy towards the job
Mhm.
has grown in a way where I wish it has grown earlier on. But it's not how life works, right? So I do enjoy it, and then I have a different perspective on things.
Do you think you're a better model now? Because
Yeah,
of that?
100%. 100%.
So let's go back a little bit again. From modeling career, you chose to do design, shoe design.
Was it because your first work was for shoe brand?
Sexy shoe brand. Did you study that?
I forgot that it was a shoe brand, but it was a shoe
Yeah.
brand. I remember it now. It's funny.
Did you study that?
Not at all. I studied film.
Okay, and how
French
did you...
literature and film. I had never set up my mind to start a brand. And let's just put into things in context. I am not a designer. I work with designer, but I'm the founder of the brand,
Mhm.
right? I'm the co-founder. I have a co-founder of the brand. I'm not actually
Mhm.
designing. I think two things is because life goes on and you start having a little bit more perspective on the industry. And I think because we came out of Asian industry, you pick up the very good things, but also the things that you struggle with, right? Like with your sense of value and who you are, the woman you become, you know? So there is several things why I started the brand. One, I felt, and I think it's something you might have felt also, we very visible yet we don't have a voice. Okay.
Yeah, muted.
You're muted, but you're very visible. And when you kind of really dig deep in the supply chain and the social part of the industry, there is so many invisible voices that don't have any platform and are very vulnerable, and we're very disconnected. Like you don't feel because you're wearing shoes or this that you have some sort of connection, although you're wearing the thing with the person who made it. You have with the designer, with the thing, but never the makers, right? The actual people who make it. And that always bothered me. And I was living, so in one of, so I used to come and stay in New York for 3 months, 6 months. At some point I lived with this girl that I found on Craigslist, whatever, in Soho. She was German and she was doing a PhD on garden workers. And she was saying it's been very hard to find anyone from your industry talking to us. Yet, we're in the same industry. And he was like, it's true, we're in the same industry, why, And she was like, so she was going to Bangladesh and China and Morocco and everything. And she was like, we work with all of this brand that I hear you model for, yet, you don't know anything about what's happening. And this is, I'm talking about in 2008. So way before it became a trend to talk about garden workers and everything. So that always stayed in my mind. And it's something that really disturbed me, that I'm so visible, I don't have any voice, and yet my visibility doesn't bring anything to people who make the things. Okay. So that's always disturbed me. So it's one of the reasons why I started the brand. Then, so I wanted to do something that I felt had a little bit more value and humanized thing in the process, right? So that's, I guess, in the core of it, what I wanted. And then because, I tried to mute for so much where I was coming from, for whatever reason, I felt like, coming into the US, people were like, oh, you're from Middle East. Yeah, it's this region where, more than ever today, but wars, it's, people like starve, it's very dark, negative first approach of them. I'm like, it's a little bit more complex than that. Yeah. I'm sure, people have the same,
Same.
I'm like, it's a little bit more complex than there is a lot of amazing thing. It's millennial old, we're a very old culture. And we have a way of doing things. We're very sophisticated. We're not only like this, warmonger people, right? So I wanted to showcase in a small way, we actually do cool things. It's not that ancestral, it's ancestral, but it also could be cool and worn in a very modern way. And so I guess this is why.
So do you think the marketing is, let's say, bad because only things that got really media lights on are as visible? Like, for me, it's incredible that someone thinks that in Tunisia or Middle East, we don't wear shoes. Yeah, we don't have a good shoemakers. Yeah. Shoemakers are only in Italy, big brands, right?
Exactly.
Right?
And it's pretty incredible.
Thank you. And the leather is actually made.
No, we're going to talk about this a little bit later.
Yeah, okay. No, but it's true. Listen, when I first arrived and people were like, oh yeah, you guys are like, on camels. I'm like, yeah, no, not really. Yeah, it's like.
Or like we're with bears in Siberia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just like, what do you think? Like, what do you think? It's, the center of civilization is not only here and then we wild people.
Western Europe, the Western world, yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you see change? Do you see
progress?
Yeah, progress.
So of course, because we've seen, I think, through. Social media has definitely completely revolutionized our industry for the good and the bad, but it has definitely kind of accessed the world in a way where we didn't access it, and we have more perspective on the world. So yeah, it has changed. I think also in our industry, when you kind of have all sorts of different people, celebrate all different people, much older people, much, diverse in shape and everything. So yeah, I do think also there is a lot of tokenism. We have to be very mindful with the tokenism that can very easily happen. I'm one of the people who, again, I believe invisible is as important as visible. And unless like really, if you go in a lot of brands and companies and big companies and you see that there is diversity of people in the decision making, not only look, I have a picture with,
So
LGBTQ, then I have like, I'm covered. I have everyone. And then I'm like, yeah, okay, who is in the decision making? Great for the picture. And then who else? And I think
Who's
there's a lot
holding
of
the power?
tokenism. Yeah.
Can you? So what's the term? It's the first time, like from talking.
No, I think it's more like it's just for the imagery, but there is no depth in the real change.
like blah blah blah
Okay.
blah blah.
Yeah, I do feel there is definitely very big change, but I do also believe it's a lot of
Just to be covered.
we're gonna cover ourselves,
Yeah, yeah.
We have to be careful, we have to have diversity, we have to have inclusivity, we have to have things, so let me make sure that,
Because
okay,
it's popular now.
because it's popular, because I want to make sure I'm not going to be cancelled, because whatever, but
politically correct.
I don't know if in the boardrooms of all of those huge companies there is as much diversity and inclusivity that I think there are, and I think this is why I think I struggle,
That's where your activism is coming from. Unfairness.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, yes, definitely unfairness. I do believe, like, I am very aware that I had an amazing opportunity that I was able to take and I do think it comes with responsibility, right? Because I do feel a lot of people have, I mean, there is incredible talent. I believe I have talent. That's a different kind of thing, subject about modeling, but I do feel like I had amazing opportunities.
And
with
you
this,
used it.
Yeah, and I use it, and I definitely rise to the occasion, maybe not the way I wanted to, but whatever, that's, but I definitely, used it. So I do feel there is a responsibility with that,
But this is one other thing that when she said there are people invisible, this is why we kind of started podcast to talk to invisible people, not just models and visible.
Which I think is very important. I'm going to tell you this thing because I was, and whatever, you can keep it, it's fine, because I told him. I was having a coffee with this agent, and he was like, oh yeah, we decided to change the name of the agency, and the agency was, remember that agency called Silent?
Yes.
And he was like, it was a terrible name. I was like, yes, it is a terrible name. I never thought of it, but it is a terrible name.
Yes.
What do you mean silent?
I
Silent
never thought
models.
about it. Oh my God.
Silent model.
Never thought
It's
about
true.
it.
And I was like,
No?
I was thinking, it is a terrible name. Yeah, but it's true. Like, I think, yeah, we, and
Is he changing it too loud?
Official.
Screaming.
Too loud.
Like never stop talking.
Wow.
But I have to say, social media gave us opportunity to talk, and a lot of girls kind of accepted it. I'm talking about models, girls, but a lot of girls chose to still be silent. It's choice now. Back then, we were all silent. It was kind of rule.
Yeah.
Now it's a choice. No?
Yeah, but I do think it's a choice. Yeah, and for whatever reason,
For whatever reason, everyone has its own.
Yeah.
has its own whatever is the horses they wanna, or the fight they wanna have.
Yes, of course. Well, we cannot judge in that way, but now I feel like it's choice. So same as the agent, like he did not think about being silent, like mute, but now with, time, with the time distance, you see that was kind of reflection of the time that we
Exactly.
were. You see how some choices, you think you thought through it from every single point and side, and then later on with the time distance you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But we're very loud now. I'm just thinking those muted girls are now off the leash.
It's so true.
Right?
And I think this is also one of the things that I think, like, if you go into kind of really kind of talking to, everyone has such an incredible story.
Yes. And I know a lot of stories because I lived with girls and I spoke to makeup artists in chair and while sitting in a chair, and hairstylists and stylists, and I heard so many amazing stories. And to be honest, some of the stories that I remember, I invited them because I remember the story, right? Some of them agree, some of them not yet. We had a guest who was pointing out, no does not mean no, it means not yet.
Yeah.
That's such a good.
So now I'm using it and abusing it.
That's our favorite
Yes.
phrase now.
Thank you, Elizabeth. She was a girl who also heard so many no's and changed things within her industry. But now that we are talking loud, let's talk a little bit about your showtime. You walked big names.
Mm-hmm.
Were you aware how big they were for one girl from Tunisia? Why I'm asking this is because you said we accepted things normal, but you were thinking about bad things that happened to us. We accepted this normal because it's happening a lot within the industry and you kind of don't see it anymore. But what about good things? Like booking Chanel, booking Dior, booking big names.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
How many models are coming from Tunisia?
Not many. I mean, I think this is where I think, you'll have to kind of like, you have the kind of thing in your eyes, you're like, okay, wow, this is...
Did you have it?
This is... I did have it. I think it's, like... This is again where I felt like, oh, I'm very lucky to be here and I have to be grateful. And I guess this is why also you didn't use the voice of man. But yeah, I definitely, I had this kind of few time pinch me moment where I'm like,
Do you remember?
how is that happening to me,
Which show? Which job?
Definitely. I remember when I was that I think also because of how well paid it was, but I remember the Chanel makeup.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, that's good.
That's a good one.
That's good.
Pinch me.
That's a nice pinch me moment. But I remember even the show when they were like, oh, you booked. Which one? I think it was in Milan. I think it was probably like. Also, I remember because I felt so dehumanized in the casting.
Mm.
I think it was. I forgot it was. Maybe it was Armani.
Mm-hmm.
Like I hated the casting. Like,
Oh my God, I'm always the same, right?
Yeah, like you feel like a cow. Like they just strip you down. And I don't know, I was running and I had like still the makeup because didn't want to be late. And they were like, like with the wife, and I was like, I felt like really like a number on a cow. Like it was so awful.
Yeah.
I think every single girl feels like that, at least the first time.
Yeah,
Later
and
on,
then
you
you-
know
yeah.
what to expect.
And
because
then
you don't-
exactly, but then when you kind of, I remember because I remember I was. So you booked the show, like okay, I didn't feel like
I'm a good cow.
I'm a good cow. And I remember I was very tired. And I was in the makeup chair, and like you were like in your zone and everything. And I opened my eyes and I could see like I thought he was a makeup artist, and I remember it was Mr. Amani himself. I don't know if you remember, but he used to fix the makeup himself.
Yes, he
You were like, oh my god, this is crazy. and that's like this is kind of a pinch me moment that like he's fixing your makeup, and then you have all the things that like you have to change, and you have 1,000 people saying like, I really have to change here, and then everyone normalizes, so you normalize it yourself, and then you see in the eyes of the girl who come after in the newer and you're like, she's uncomfortable. I was there the season before, and then you normalize it. It's interesting,
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell when you go to the casting, when you see this line, you could tell who was there season before and who is new. That was
like,
oh,
sorry.
at some point, that was my game because the lines were like, the lines for the casting were so long. You wait for like 3 hours, and
So you have to play the game.
mind game. I was like, who is here the first time? Who do you think will book it? But now that you mention it, I will never forget. So we had this slips, tan nude color with the elastic band that we have to put over our waist, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when I go to that room to change, I first touch the slip to see how wet and sweaty it is.
God, don't tell me about
And
it.
if it's too sweaty, I would not wear it. But then, because you are 3,700 third girl, every single slip there is makeup on, it's stinky, it's 30, and I remember waiting there for a couple of groups until I get the one that was kind of bearable.
Yeah.
No, I remember,
Do you remember
I
that?
remember that really, really well. How it was.
I will never forget it.
And the tights, like give you the tights that's
Yeah.
also been worn by 1,000 girls.
Crazy, right? Do you miss that?
That no.
But that's part of booking a show and
Yeah.
working the show.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it-
Right?
Yeah.
That's what is. So every time when someone asks me, "Do you miss it?" I'm like,
I totally
"Hmm,
forgot about this moment.
I'm not 100% sure because I know what it takes to
Yeah.
get that what I miss.
Yeah.
But the path there is very rough sometimes.
I'm traumatized right now.
We woke up some demons from the past and we didn't want to. So, model entrepreneur, the beginnings of your new path. I'm asking because when I entered my post modeling,
Entrepreneurship.
my post modeling life, it was really hard just because I was modeled before that.
I completely agree, and I think it's still very hard.
It is
Like,
still very hard.
I do feel there is a sort of stigma. And actually, I wrote about it because I remember, I was talking to one of my mentor, and he was like, "You have to downplay the modeling part." And I was like, "How do I downplay the modeling part when it's been such a huge part
Of who I am.
of who I am, what I do, what my skill set, what I've learned, what I think?" And I was like, it's so diminishing of every incredible woman I have met who has or who is or who will be a model, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is almost kind of like a new fight I have, because I do think it's portrayed in a way that is completely wrong. It's just it's just full on wrong. Like, you're talking about the people who, like, as we said, are very young, has to kind of learn,
Everything on their own.
everything on their
There's
own.
no school for it.
They, like, most of them are always on time to things. Like, there is so many things that you would want.
You could put it
part
in
of
your resume as your
Exactly.
skills.
As a
Problem
that-
solver, organizer, logistics. So
Exactly.
many skills.
There is so many transferable skills that you learned at such a young age and in such a harsh way that is so transferable that you're telling me, oh,
It's not worth it.
it's not worth it because you see it as, oh, it's a fleeting whim.
And there is no diploma for it.
And I think, I think is very hard, and I think it's still very hard, and I think there is still some, I think it's still not talked about in the way where I think it should be talked about.
We had this issue recently when we co-founded this app, right? Paper
I
Doll.
heard.
Yeah. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And one of the girl from our team, she reached out to a brand. So she wrote them a message, and they didn't reply to her. They sent a message to our mutual friend. They saw the connection link of this girl and Daria.
Daria, yeah.
And so they sent a message to a mutual
And
person.
Daria is model too.
And she's a model, yes. So they sent a message to a stylist, and they're like, "Do you know this girl? Is her account being hacked?"
Because they didn't take it seriously?
Yes, because first of all, she didn't because it was way before launch, right? So we didn't want to make it public yet. So she didn't have it in her bio that she's connected with that platform. So they didn't see it, and they didn't even, I guess, they consider that she can do something like that.
Yeah, because it's too smart for a model to do.
Yeah.
I still experience that. Like, wait a second, you think you're doing a serious job and you were a model before?
And also, like, I don't know if you have it, but what do you do besides modeling? I'm like, well, I don't have time.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you do?
I work like a freaking dog. What do you do besides modeling? What do you do?
Yeah, well, they never ask, what do you do besides accounting? What do you do besides?
But I think we have and I think this is, also one of the things that I am telling you, like, something that really pisses me off, because I think it's almost we have internalized it. Like, we almost have, like, I think models, I don't know, maybe not generation, no, but you're like, oh yeah, I'm also, whatever, I'm this and this. And I'm like, yeah, you can also own the fact that, you work hard, you do this, and this is a skill set that you kind of, perfect.
Monetize, yes.
And monetize and work on and get better. And that's okay too. Like, own it, So yeah, it's.
But also, modeling is not considered a job.
But
Yeah.
the same as makeup artist, hairdresser, stylist, and whoever we're talking to,
many
photographer.
artistic jobs are not considered as
Yeah.
jobs.
That's what we've been
It's
heard
fun.
during these conversations too. That, to me, it's
It's crazy.
Mhm.
It's crazy that like the skill set is not recognized as such.
But also, what pisses me off the most. So they look at us as we are model. God knows what she was doing and what she is still doing. But still, a lot of women who are thinking this way towards us would like to be in our shoes.
oh, I
And
recently
a lot of men who are thinking about us as not as, I don't know, educated or what, would like to be in our company. You know what I mean? But when it's a business on the table, we are not so wanted and welcome.
Yeah, we're not taking seriously. Yeah, I think it's very hard to break through. Even if
Very,
I
very
found
hard.
the company, even if I this, like it's always, I feel like it still comes with a very heavy stigma. And it's such an interesting thing because you would think that it's a natural evolution.
Yeah, and it
I've
would
learned so
open-
much.
And it would open a lot of doors.
I technically did the best possible fashion schooling that you would think
Yes.
of. Yet no, like when it comes to business, it's just like not taken
we are not,
seriously.
yes. And
And
we are.
yeah, that's definitely something we have to break through. And I think being less silent models,
Yes. Silent.
and
Not
more
the agency silence, the silent like beautiful.
is definitely ways of kind of.
How many girls we know they're in serious businesses now and doing very, very well after modeling careers. It's not a small number. There are a lot of us. So that means that the living fashion and working in fashion gave us something, so we thrive later on as well. No?
yes. What do you think is harder, getting a job as a model or getting a job as a fashion brand now?
Very hard question. I mean, and it's very hard because getting a job as a model, as we have said, is so many parameters that are not decided by who you are or what factor. If right now, like they say, the vision for this campaign is a Black woman, well, it's not, so it's the parameters are really not within our hands, no matter how hard we work and want that, right? As a fashion brand, there is so many different other parameters which I think are more in your control, or you think are more in control. But also it's very hard because when you are, and this is where you kind of learn again the unseen part of the industry, where so many corporations are, controlling so many different things. There is so much money that are directed towards certain things. So there is very little room for very small independent brands. And I think it's also very hard, but it's two very different hearts. You see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. My first French word.
Very useful one.
Very useful.
Okay, I'm gonna do it like that, so I'm not gonna smack it.
Let me give you extra wires.
So it's definitely like I definitely got very good, thankfully, contact, and also you realize how much the industry is compartmentalist. For example, like I work with so many brands or so many department stores that I really wanted my brand to be at, and I had this contact that I developed throughout the years. Yet, because in the image part, it's very different from the buyers, and sometimes they didn't even have the connection. Sometimes they had, and sometimes that developed me into kind of, I was able to sell with, like 3 people or whoever, because I had this relationship, right? And truly only because of that, I'm very grateful for that. But so many department stores it's very fragmented. And I think that's also such a learning curve that I've had, at least,
I had exactly the same experience, thinking about my connections to some part of fashion and the industry would be useful for the future, for example, for paper doll as well, but it turned out not really.
Not really.
Yeah,
Like
you're starting from zero, as if you had never ever had any kind of connection to the brand or store or designer.
But you do, and I guess, like it's all how you kind of revamp it in a different way. But yeah, I do think, we should come with a lot of assets because we've been in this industry for so long and we know it's so inside out in so many different ways. It's the image part, but also like somehow we have developed so much of instinctive marketing tools that we have. But it's not seen like that.
It's not seen at all. What do you think is the best asset you have now, the best part that modeling taught you that you can use for your brand now, for problem solving or logistics or marketing, as you said? What do you think it is?
I truly believe is how, and has something that I hope I can take with anything I have, is the human connection part, which I think, like, as I said, like, I think, like we've now very instinctively, we read people or what they want, at least what they want from you and what you want from them. And I think in a very kind of, and it makes it very natural and you connect with people in a different way. And I truly believe that's something that I did not have at all. It took me a much longer than I hope I did. Like I think I would have been a much better model if I understood that that's the skills that I'm learning, that I'm still learning as this modeling was teaching you. Yes, of course, it teaches you so much about like image making and marketing and all of this, which I think it's very relevant and very important. But I do think I understand very much in a close set what is it that I can give and what is it the exchange, the natural exchange that's happened. And I think it's something that I hope I can take anywhere else,
But do you think you can teach that, or it has to be experienced?
It's a very good question. For my experience, it was experience. It was not natural, and I learned it, like even with the agents, But I do hope if the more explicit you say it, the more then the younger generation will experience it much faster than I did. I had no idea this is what I was learning, and here I am, 20 years later, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I got that,
Would you say your experience in fashion also helps you so you control the production and everything, and that's why it looks so impeccable, and I mean, it's gorgeous what we are wearing right now.
It's gorgeous. I wore billions of shoes in my life. It feels gorgeous. It's the feeling.
It's like it's just impeccable. That's the word.
Thank you. So for what we're trying to do, we haven't reinvented the wheel, and I'm very proud of this. This is a shoe that has been existing in that part of the world, again, for centuries.
In such a good quality?
It's in such a good quality. The difference is, and this is why we started the business with Simone, is this is an indoor shoe. And like in that part of the world, indoor home is lived in a much more like you are home. I live in New York City, and I'm like,
this is my home.
but like I knew this is a little bit too pretty to be worn in my apartment between my four walls, So we kind of developed it that it becomes, from an indoor sleeper to something that you wear every day and everywhere, Exactly that. This is how it was an indoor shoe, and now it become a loafer. It
so beautiful,
so beautiful, like, and it feels like a silk feather, something like so natural, and
but we do so. This is also
even the shape is as it was before.
Yes, we just have work a little bit with make it a little bit, but modern in a way. But it's been here for many
because it feels natural, like nothing.
So yeah, I mean, it's exactly. So it's
anatomic. It feels like anatomic.
Exactly. It's very timeless. It's been worn for, so it has experienced the time basically. And we work with artists that have been doing for generations. So they don't have any kind of like formal education or like artists or whatever, but they have a very strong sense of what they do because they've been doing for centuries. for at least for generations with the people we work with, and they have the time history, but they also have the mentality of like, how to make it more modern, how to modernize it, how to make it kind of, cool for people today to wear it. And because we're so close to our process and our production chain, we're really close. Like we know who make, we know who makes the shoes. Therefore, it creates a different relationship with the product. We can make it better and we can humanize it again,
Do you think your time and your knowledge and your love towards what you are making is inside this shoe?
Very much so.
Like when you're cooking for someone who you love, it's extra tastier because there is a love in. So I feel wearing these shoes that they're not manufactured in a regular way. I feel like it's handmade, especially for me.
I appreciate that you say this, and I wonder how many, this is, I think, what I try to kind of implement in my life in general is, I think if we connect more with what we wear or what we consume or what we eat, I think it elevates our life in a different way. You see, because I do feel like if there is more intentionality and almost more spirituality, even though I'm not, but if you consume things in a more spiritual way, because you humanly connect with, whatever is being made or how it's been made, I think it elevates your life in a different way,
I'm going to tell you one story. Why? Because my mom used to knit, and I used to design things that I want her to make it for me. And I always loved to have a special something that no one has it, and I always felt different wearing them. And my mom made a dress for me. It was like knee length, no backless, like no back. She knitted in white silky yarn.
Wow.
And
that sounds
oh
incredible.
my God. And that was my wedding dress later on. I used it for a wedding. I was offered $10,000 in Japan for that dress, and I said no.
Of course not.
Of course not. My mom wanted to
You're
kill
crazy.
me. Right? She's like, I could need the same one for him, but it wouldn't be unique anymore. Right?
That's
so
beautiful.
And back then, her salary was like $110 per month. So imagine what $10,000 meant. Right? And I said no. And then I regretted telling her at all that someone offered me money for it. I always enjoyed stuff bought on the side. Like when I travel a lot, I love markets like bazaars, like little stores, and I love buying things there more than any other brand with a price and tag and name. I feel the product differently.
I agree.
Do you have the same
I agree, because I do feel, again, we are a social species, right? And I do feel if you feel someone's love and care, you do feel it. Like you do feel it, like the way you said it, like if you eat a meal made by someone and you can feel the love and care in the little detail, then, it's a different experience.
Yeah. The shoe is actually hugging me. I'm not wearing it, right?
It's hugging us.
It's hugging my feet. I'm not wearing it. It's like, oh, I'm yours. Enjoy me.
And what about bags?
Yes. What about
I can see it.
She walked in.
I see something beautiful standing over
Yeah,
there.
Kenza walked in with a bag that we right away both of us asked, is that your brand? Do you want to tell
So
us?
this is not my brand. It's actually a very good friend of mine who made it. But we want to work with her. We're trying to work with her and develop it. And obviously, it's it looks like but it's actually handmade, and it's many hours. And she developed this technique where it's kind of like irony.
Knitted.
Exactly. So it's not that easy, but it's again, it's a lot of love and care, and
So if we have people more interested in stuff like this, we could have it more on the market.
Yes. So this is, I think, where we
this is our job, to talk about brands and small manufacturers, small designers trying to enter the market.
Exactly. And I think also one of the thing is so also, for example, we only use leather that's been already produced, and we take the leather remnants and we go around and really buy the very good quality leather remnants, but we don't produce leather, right? Because there is already, if you really dive deep again, like no token, like really like try to understand how things are made, there is so much overproduction of leather. And when you think about overproduction of leather, it's animals, it's water thing, it's a whole industry that is overproducing. So what to do with this leather that is overproduced and not used? So we only use that, and we've been testing so many different other fabrics or alternative and everything, and it's great, but it doesn't solve the initial issue where there is overproduction. We need to find a solution to overproduction, and one of the ways, doing small batches of those things.
Those beautiful
things. Yeah, and it's again like we're trying. So for me, it's very hard to say I'm gonna be able to find this leather. We've been trying to find this. It's been very hard, and I think this is also the beauty of it. Like everyone's like, oh, you should write limited edition. Yeah, it is limited edition, and I don't need to write it, but it is limited edition.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Very limited.
Very limited. Yeah.
And very special. Do you find this?
But I want it to be also affordable. Like also, I didn't want it. I wanted to find it very exclusive. That it is. Like I do feel like trying to do things the right way and consume the right way shouldn't also be extremely exclusive. Like or only referring to people who can afford, and and then therefore feel like so. Most of our consumers, and we very specific with the data, are actually people who are doing good around them. They're very often teachers. They are people who work in NGO, they are nurses. So people who don't, necessarily make tons of money, but who in their community change things. And this is literally like, when I think about models, like who I want to kind of make more visible are definitely people like that. And therefore, I need to adjust the price for, and this is why I think it's very hard to find the sweet spots. And when you have investment, or you the first thing you have to raise the price because you're never gonna really,
Make
and I'm
money.
like, okay, but this is, so I have to navigate all of that, right?
And it's a lot of hats to wear. Do you feel more satisfied when you come up with a new model the way you want it, or when you book a job as a model?
No, definitely when we come up with a very cool, when there is strategy and idea and and new product, and when you literally give birth to something. Book a job is amazing, especially if if I can use that money to kind of invest in my company. Like, this is amazing, and I do enjoy it because I still meet so many people that I need for my job, and so I'm not diminishing that. I think that's very, very important. But I do feel like this is something I control, and I literally give birth to. So it's a different thing.
It's more than you are.
It's exactly. And I do. This is to go back to the modeling thing. Like I have realized. I'm gonna come a little bit more personal, but like I have put on a little bit more weight from how people imagine me, and that's been kind of interesting. Because and I'm sure you guys, I was always the people who was one of the girls who was almost too thin for the jobs. And absolutely I'm like, I had a hard time feeding into things, and it's such an interesting, different dynamic that I have with the industry, that I think, it made me think even more there's so many different things that has to be.
It's a shift.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be readjusted in a different way, So yeah, it definitely I care more about bringing a new product and elevating families with my product than booking a job. Although I do.
But booking a job, you're doing other things. Yeah.
So it helps each other.
I wanted to ask you, is there anything you wish you knew when you were 15 years old that someone told you? And maybe you can tell her now, your 15-year-old Kenza.
So many things. Like I wish I could give her a playbook, but I think definitely definitely don't, I think, be more like Ines, be more assertive. Like, like be a little bit more, I was always serious, I always took the job very seriously. I always was, like never late, never miss a job, never missed
Otherwise you wouldn't last for 20
exactly,
years.
never missed a flight, never been rude, never, like always like, and I think maybe be more assertive with who you are, have more confidence with the person you are. And also it's something that is culturally where you have to keep yourself small. We have it as women.
Modest.
Yeah, we have it as women. And on top of that, I think culturally, like even you have to be even more like not the loudest, silent, like don't make waves, don't be thing. And I'm like, I think take more space with who you are and who you want to be and how you want to bring your best self to the world is very important. And I think, even to myself now, I would say, but I think, for young girls coming out of age, like don't be loud to be loud, but, be more assertive with who you are as a human being and take more space. It's okay,
Kenza, have you ever said no to any job because it clashed your values? Since I think you were sort of assertive with who you are and you knew who you are.
Maybe not
since
at
a
the
young
beginning,
age.
but at
Yeah.
some point, yes.
Yeah, I did. And I mean, if I didn't, think it was aligned with my value and I was at the situation where I could afford to pass on a job, I definitely said no to, things that I didn't want to align with for whatever reason. Yeah.
Was it hard? Did you have a battle inside of you?
Yeah,
or
because I'm always one of the people who said, conversation are important, different perspectives are important, and maybe if you bring yourself to the table, you will learn, and then you will also change someone's mentality or way of thinking. But if it's very removed from who you are or who you want to be or how you stand into the world, yeah, there is, you can't reunite those two, And I know that I lost definitely a lot of jobs or didn't get a lot of jobs, and because I was too political or too loud. And you also have to be okay with that.
Were you scared?
Yeah, I mean, you're always scared when you
Doing things like that.
yeah, when you feel like I'm not trying to be controversial, but I do believe it's my duty to stand for what I think is right. Yeah, and yeah, it's never very comfortable, but it is what it is.
But how is that accepted among the agents? Because if you say no to the job that they try to give you, it's their loss as well.
Yes, and
And you're becoming not really easy to work with, girl.
yes, and I think this is where I think the relationship you develop with people is important. But yeah, I mean, like when, some of my agents, it's a very kind of at the stage, especially professional relationship. And yeah, they're like, why are you doing all this? Why are you so, like you're losing this? Even I had people, mentor, investor, whatever, who would be telling me, you need to stop because you very kind of connected to your brand. And therefore, you're losing a lot of wholesaler and everything with, your political activism or whatever. I'm not like a political man, but, like, I believe in human rights. And that's my belief. And
But you're also gaining other people, right? You're losing
yeah, but they
ones,
didn't see that. They say, if you kind of like ride the wave and
Blend
be, voila, it would be better for you, for your business, for everything. I'm like, yeah, but this is
not who you are, right?
This is not who I am. And also like, and I think it's the same for you guys. Like I come from a place where I don't have that luxury to say, I don't talk about politics. It's not really, no, yeah, politics impact you directly in your not even politics, but like injustice, situation impact directly your life in a very significant way, or the life around you. So yeah, I don't have that luxury. Lucky you. It's not my position.
Yeah, but even now I'm thinking, even with the podcast, we were like, why are you guys doing this? We heard that a lot. Like, why? What is behind it? It's not business-wise profitable. Why you are doing it? we heard it, and it's just simple podcast. We're sitting and talking about our lives, and people from the industry, and some actually people that I thought would be happy to be part of it. They're like, why you are doing this? Like, why you are making waves? Why you are asking girls questions? And I recently heard one girl told me that she was advised by a booker not to be our guest because we might ask tricky questions.
Yeah, I mean, this is again the question of control, and rightfully so, like the agency wants to control a certain narrative. And of course, when you have, people taking agency and saying it's unsettling.
It's still there.
It's still right there. But if that girl, says no yet, whatever.
Was that girl from a silent agency?
No, I don't think so. But maybe you see, I'll dig deeper to see. I'm not sure, but
people don't want you to control your narrative, and it's.
But are we talking about dangerous things here? I don't think so. And I feel like we always, at least what we've been discussing, we want our guests to feel comfortable. And if you're not comfortable saying something,
you don't have to. Yeah, it's not an ambush.
It's like, I can ask you a question, but you have the right not to answer it, right?
And also, I think people are very transactional, and you're like, no, it's, everything is about context.
Yes.
Everything is about context. And what you're trying to say is, this is how I see the podcast. I'm trying to showcase context about this industry that, is very silent.
Yes. And for me, it was the other way around. Okay, we were silent. Let's give a platform to girls who were...
Not only girls,
people, models. People. Now I'm talking about models, but people in general, yes. Good point. Who were too silent and they would like to share their stories. And mostly we talk about personal stories, business secrets.
No.
Maybe some secrets we are spilling here about casting in a nude slip. But
I wonder if they still do that casting.
I don't know. I was thinking when we were I'm thinking.
I remember the black tights. Wet black tights.
Yeah, it's so gross. It's so gross.
So, and people think we live a glamorous life 24/7. I mean,
the feeding that never ends.
Yes.
You're starving, and then
big house of models.
Usually, you see the casting agent eating, and you're like, waiting 5 hours of starving, and I'm like, it's just
and they're like, oh, do we have a break for lunch? Give us your books and wait here, and then turn off the lights, and they go for lunch, and we're still sitting there waiting.
And
you cannot go because
they don't believe it's true, but it's so true,
It was true back then. We lived it. Not sure about now. Yeah. We have to talk to some girl from newer generation about those experience in castings, just to compare.
You should guys have James Scully. Remember?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you should. He has a store now. He's really different. I think he would be a great person to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Because
we're coming for you.
He was an agent, so it's and then he was a casting director, and he's the one who kind of blasted all of those effort,
Yeah, very loudly.
Very loudly. So
a couple years ago, right? Mm-hmm. When was that? 2010? That's not a couple of years.
That was not a couple of years ago at all. I forgot, but he went and he was.
I'm trying to place my memories.
These people who were born in 2012, they're like, what? Not.
Sorry, Ines has this mismatch with the timeline very often.
Yeah, me too. It's all a blur,
right?
It's all a blur, huh?
Some things feel so distant, even if it was 2-3 years ago. Corona time feels so a century ago. To me, and then some things feel like yesterday, and it was back in 2005.
Right before you dress stupid.
Yes,
Kenza, you have daughter, right?
I have a daughter.
One.
No, and one daughter, one son. And you?
I don't. I have a cat.
How old?
My super furry.
He's 4.5. What do you think you would like when your daughter Google your name in 10 years to appear in the search
about you?
In 10 years, so I have 10 years to kind of make it happen. No, I think listen. This is if you have to think about your sense of purpose in life, right? I think I would, and I think it's something that you have to go back to and keep it as a North Star. I think I would like to kind of be bridging community, whatever it is, like showcasing, our brand and therefore like a way of doing. I think I would like to kind of connect communities and bridging communities in a way, telling stories that are not often said. Like I think making the invisible visible, which I think this is why we started the brand. Like our tagline is "Walk a mile in my shoe," or "Walk a mile in someone else's shoe." So I think like the more you connect with people, the more you understand how universal we are, and I think that's very, very important. So whatever is the format, I'm not sure, but if she can see that was kind of my tagline, I'll be winning in life.
Let's make it happen.
And also to your brand, you said the line, and the name of your brand is OSAY, OSAY, our story are yours. That's so beautiful,
That's
right?
amazing.
Thank you.
Our stories are yours now. Too.
Exactly. Yeah, we all connect to storytelling also.
Mm-hmm. What is next for the brand?
That's the $1 billion question.
I don't have $1 billion, but I hope we will have it so we can have the brand.
I want $1 million on $1 billion.
We want billion. Yeah, million means nothing anymore.
Exactly. So
in New York City, at least.
So listen, we are at that pickle where we need to grow to the next stage and we don't know how, so we have so many ideas and so many things we want to do, and I think we want to be more of kind of a platform showcasing women we like, and like really like our stories are yours, so really. And so we would love to develop that more and develop the products. So I'm not gonna lie, like it's kind of like a moment where we need to get to the next level and we kind of like torn in different direction. So we need to kind of so we need to develop the platform part and we need to develop the branding, and we have so many ideas of products, but we need the investment, we need the thing. It's not easy.
Maybe we can combine with the paper doll. Maybe we can be the platform for you to tell the stories and share it with the people, because we want to grow communities. There are long products or style or your people or your story to be our story and the other way around. Maybe that's a way to think.
I 100%. I believe the more you get together, the more there is crisscross, the more there is things happen.
It's interesting when I contacted Kenza to meet with her before we spoke about the podcast, and someone asked me like, how are you picking the girls? Like, what is the
common thread?
Yes, I'm like, just the girls that I know that did something significant are still doing something. And if my little podcast, our little podcast, can give her extra boost, why not? But this was my way of thinking. And because we have some girls never replied, right? But when she
but she's on them. I mean, they didn't reply yet.
Yes. Yeah. So when she replied, and she's
they'll
like,
come around, don't worry.
Yeah. That's for sure. When she said, yeah, why not? Let's do it. I was like, there are still girls thinking the same way as I do. As you do.
Yeah, I think cross collaboration is everything. Human connection are everything, and this is why I think like I'm sure this is how you came up with the idea of paper doll.
Yes.
Like it's, and I truly believe you have to always cross point, because then the next thing is about to happen, and you don't know how or where.
You're giving a birth to something new that you never thought of with the mixing with. Actually,
it's how Damien said, when you succeed, we all succeed, something like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think we should tell this more about society, because it's very individualist in our ways,
But this is also going back to, we were taught and we were like kind of stigmatized with the fact you do not talk to other girls about your experience. You are walking. They are your competition. Like there was always
you don't tell her how much you make.
Yes, there was such an effort to keep us disconnected instead of And it was so hard to get out of it. Even if you want, I wanted to connect with girls even after my career so badly, just because we have a common connection to talk about more than, for example, other moms at the playground was my issue. Because we had
100%.
nothing in common to talk about besides kids. But it wasn't really easy to find girls things. Still, a lot of models are thinking, oh, she's my competition, even though I'm not in the modeling or we're not doing the same type of job. Do you have that experience?
100%. I think this is again one of the kind of, we're so conditioned, like the system condition you in a way where you have to take everyone else kind of like, you know, predator or competitor or whatever. And I think it's exactly, we have to reframe this thing.
We have to.
And the lack of transparency. And this is one of the things where we're trying to be very transparent with our product, but it's again, because I think I got so frustrated with the lack of transparency around everything is opaque.
But
like
it is
you sign literally
in a contract.
Exactly,
Yes.
as a model, you sign a power of attorney, so you could be paid $1 million or 10,000, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Because you gave up your right to know. And this is why I think it's so effed up, and this is why.
But this has changed.
It's changed, yeah.
June 19th.
June 19th,
But
yes.
in New York.
In New York.
I mean, in the
Yeah.
States. Not
You
Okay, but
guys
at
got
least something-
Sarah Gazif, right?
Yes.
Doctor, yeah.
Yes. So this is now a little bit different. So let's use this fact that it's law now, and let's grow this community where we kind of are allowed to be together and to talk.
Exactly. Otherwise,
Share,
exactly. And if you say no, but this is not right, you're difficult, disposable, out. No, this
No,
is
if you have your community, you will never be disposable because there
exactly. This is why we're standing against now.
So let's keep talking loudly.
As we're talking right now, I'm thinking the name for this episode will be something like Not Silent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Two loud
Too
girls.
loud.
Three
loud girls.
Two loud girls. Two loud
Models.
models. Yeah. This is fun.
Kenza, let's imagine 15-year-old Kenza, 14, who went to the contest, right? Watching you right now, what is she telling you? Not
What
right
is she
now, but
thinking
like
about
this,
you,
this,
This new Kenza, a little bit older.
A little bit all around the Winkler. I think she would have realized that a lot of images she had in her mind came true. And it's a process and it's not completely perfect and everything, but I do think, like I remember the first time I came to New York, I was like, my dream is for me to be here. And there is in no circumstance like, okay, I'll be here and, have a family and be here. And yet it happened, like I think also having kind of like, being able to kind of talk like that and think and feel less disposable and more better in my own skin, and I never feel, when I was 20 years ago, I think also like, I was like, oh, you come a long way in a good way.
Bravo.
Keep going.
She's happy. Little Kenza is happy.
So it's time for a game.
Okay.
Yes.
I wish we can talk much longer.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like,
We already
Yeah.
runway or campaign. It's this
yeah,
or
yeah.
that.
Just pick one.
Just pick one.
okay.
Runway or campaign shoot.
Campaign shoot.
Dance like nobody's watching or sing like nobody's listening.
Dance like nobody's watching.
Artisan made or high tech innovation.
Artisan made, yes. Although I do like technology. I do love technology, but yeah, artisan made.
Spicy harissa or sweet pastry?
Spicy harissa all the way.
Crying during a rom-com or yelling during a documentary.
I think when I look at the news, I cry enough, so I'll prefer the rom-com these days.
Desert retreat or Mediterranean escape?
Mediterranean escape.
Wondering why. Late night debate or early morning meditation.
I'm more of a late night debate with a nice drink and keep talking.
Debate with Vlada tonight. Later, I'll be sleeping. I'll talk to you in the morning after my meditation.
I wish I was that, but it's not true. I'm not stopping.
I wasn't like that. I wasn't like that. I became like that.
History books or fashion magazines on your coffee table?
I do like photography books. So I have a lot of photography books in my house. I do like history books, but the truth is I have more photography books. So I don't have a magazine because I don't think we have a lot of magazines anymore. To be honest.
Yeah.
But I do
fashion.
I do have fashion.
Do you have your magazines?
I do, but I'm not
Not on the coffee table.
Yeah.
not coffee table for sure.
Same as me. Unpack immediately or leave out of the suitcase.
Unpack immediately.
Mm.
I hate the mess. I hate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so me again. Perfect lighting, bad angle, or perfect angle, terrible lighting?
Ooh, I think for me, it's a hard one.
Have you ever experienced bad angle, good light, or the other way around?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you do.
have experienced both.
Yeah. And I hated both.
And I hated both. I have to be honest. I think lighting is important.
Yes,
Mhm.
I would choose lighting.
Yeah. There's one we missed.
Which one?
Designing a collection or directing a film.
Directed the film. I know it's not. It came out, but I would love to direct a film.
That's a subject for part 2
Yeah.
with Kenza.
Yes, we definitely need part 2 with Kenza.
And now we another visual, this or that.
This is interesting one. This one surprised me in a positive way coming up with this idea, I have to say. I'm so proud.
So now we have to choose the outfit. Option is this or that. 2000s throwback or 2020s cool. 2000s throwback or 2020s cool.
I love a 2000 throwback. Although I like the shoes. I like my shoes better. It's a hard one. This is very cool too. Okay, let's choose this one.
This one?
That would be how I would dress.
Did you realize this how you were dressed in 2010s?
She recreated one of your outfits.
Really?
Yes.
That's so genius.
Yeah.
Never mind. I remember. I put it in Tokyo.
You will see it in the episode.
Yes. We will visuals. We will.
I do like that look though.
Yeah, but she did
Because
say
it's yours.
Because it's yours. You
Oh,
styled it. Maybe different brands,
Yeah.
but you styled it.
Yeah.
This is
Different brands.
I really like
it was
that.
a different bag, but in that style.
In that
Yeah.
style.
And this was you recently,
Almost. Again,
Almost.
not exactly the same, but
Okay.
style-wise.
That's very cool actually. That's very, very cool.
I'm sad we have to wrap up so soon, after a couple of hours. But I'm happy we had to sit down and talk with Kenza.
yes, it's so rare to meet someone who's worn so many hats and stayed true to herself in all of them, throughout wearing all of them. And Kenza reminds us that you can be many things at once, glamorous and grounded, bold and thoughtful, and in the spotlight and behind the scenes, building something meaningful, right?
Whatever she's walking a runway or leading a movement, she is walking with a purpose. And we are grateful she walked into our podcast today.
So grateful. And if you guys love this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review, of course. And because it helps more stories like Kenza's reach the ears of someone that needs to hear these stories.
And follow Kenza and her brand as well, because fashion changes, but great stories stay forever. Thank you.
I love
you.
that. Such a cool thing. I love it.
Thank you, Kenza.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.